G'day everyone and welcome to the pickup. I am Matty G and this is Malley. We are Inside NBA. Malley, a big week and we are rivals. We're rivals.
Yeah. Yep. It was due to happen sooner or later. We couldn't go around each other unless they had a weird, I don't know, statewide storm or something like that put all the games out for a week. But yeah, no such luck.
We
It's
are
all
on
happening this week.
It is. We're on the fantasy. We're dueling it out. And again, we are going to talk about waiver wire targets and streams in week 13, as well as buy now, sell high. So, Matty, if you could just if you could lead that segment when we come to it and just tell me who you're planning on doing so I can counter each day, that would be brilliant. All that and coming more up and more coming up after this.
Welcome to the Ultimate Super Coach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Yeah, indeed you are. And Malley, look, let's start off with those waiver targets because I did joke around about them. It's a really heavy day of NBA games in week 13. So if you haven't checked your schedules yet or know when your games for, Monday is 11. Tuesday is light with 3, low volume day, so good quality games there. Wednesday is 10. Then it kind of plateaus for the rest of the week, Malley. We've got 5, 8, 8, and 6 from Thursday through Sunday. Mate, tell us, who are you looking for? Let's play the drop and tell us who you're looking at.
Targets acquired.
Yeah, so we're recording this with 5 games down on the Monday. We're just up to live action for Golden State and Dre's return versus Memphis's G League team, which is great. Good to see them putting a G League team into the NBA. You know, they're always Silver's always trying to do something different, which is good. Let's see if it pays off.
Hats off to them.
As you said,
I want to talk about that. Can we talk about the Grizz for a second?
Yeah,
I know the game's live, right? I know look, I think it's an important one to note. Like Triple J has rolled back out there, which is good for all those Triple J owners. Desi Bain obviously out for 6 weeks, which is massive. Marcus Smart out for 6 weeks. I know it was all looking like that, but look, Xavier Tillman has been. There's possibly Matty O'Brien. Matrix was talking about this other night. It's a possible fantasy goldmine. Kennard hasn't started off hot, but Aldama's going to get some minutes. There's a GG Jackson getting some minutes for these guys. Talk about G League Jackson, we can call him. The David Roddy. But there is an opportunity here for a lot of guys to get some opportunity. And unfortunately, for Triple J owners like myself, what we can expect properly from him now was super high amount of shot attempts on this team being the focal point, which is going to decrease his efficiency. He's shot in 8 minutes 4 3-pointers already. Like, I don't know if he's taken the piss, Malley, but that's over half of his shot attempts already from outside the arc. Vince Williams has obviously been on waiver wires, Zaire Williams, and obviously Xavier Tillman. But it could be a fantasy goldmine down the stretch.
I mean, I think the problem is they're just going to play whoever every day, and you don't really know what's going to get rolled out. Could be the problem. But yeah, I think if you could snag someone who has their day and has their moment, there's no one big offensive threat in that team now. I guess, as you said, Triple J kind of has to be. Not that that's his natural kind of the natural role. But yeah, maybe Kennard. Kennard's obviously going to just keep shooting and shoot forever as well. I see Roddy's back today. But yeah, GG Jackson, one of their only really properly pure offensive guys. So yeah, I think, it might come down to a bit of a roll of the dice each day, but why not? That's what waivers are for.
So who you are rolling the dice on for those waivers, funnily enough, for your Wednesday games here in Australia, but Tuesday in the States? There are 3 of them. You got the Nugs and the 76ers, the Kings and the Suns, and the Thunder and the Clips. Who are your eyes on?
Yeah, just because obviously it's a really quiet day with only 3 games on, 6 teams playing. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers. You've got to kind of pick up who's there. But I've written down here that there's no back-to-backs Tuesday, Wednesday, so you can't really look to do that. But there are, out of these teams, the Thunder and the Kings, out of the teams you just mentioned there, they have that overlap back-to-back where they don't play on the big day and they play again on the small Thursday.
Yeah, the Tuesday and Thursday,
from those guys, I've got Kevin Huerter here. Murray pinged his hip yesterday. And so Kevin got some more minutes. He shot a squillion threes. I think he made maybe 6 or 7 of them in that OT game. They need someone to fill that shooting gap. I know he's been in and out of the starting lineup, but if Murray's out for this game and potentially, depending on what damage has been done the Thursday game as well, he could be a guy that you pick up. The other guy in pretty much the same position as Lou Dort. I don't think there's official word yet, unless something's just come through in the last 10 minutes, whether or not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's going to play today.
Haven't had the update.
But, yeah, if he doesn't, then Lou's going to go nuts today. And then it's a big week for them. So maybe they do a little bit of pretend injury reporting, or enough to get Shai to sit some games. They're doing well at the moment. He doesn't need to play them all. So we'll see. Fine. He's another guy. Yeah, he'll get you threes. He'll get a couple of steals. And the last guy, he doesn't have the he played today. He's just a guy that I'm looking at. He doesn't, unlike the two guys I just talked about, Dort and Huerta, he doesn't have that double game. They actually have a pretty actually their games this week fall on some of the low volume days, but it's Kelly Oubre Jr. Look, he didn't do that well today, but with Melton still out, and he came back for those 2 games from his back injury, he looked garbage. They played him like 20 minutes those 2 times. Kelly Oubre is always the guy that they just slot in. Really, it doesn't matter who's out. They just seem to put him into the starting lineup. He got 4 steals, so that's decent. he didn't do much else, but when he's getting you 4 steals, that's a pretty bloody good start to your week anyway. So they're my 3 guys: Huerta, Dort, and for tomorrow, and then Oubre looking a little beyond that as well.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And I was looking at Kelly Oubre as well as a possible stream target, and about 2 minutes afterwards, my opponent, I was like, do I do Tsunami Papi? Do I get him in? He doesn't give me many peripheral stats. I'm looking good on points and threes. And then he goes and drops 4 steals today. I'm like, you son of just. And with Melton out being one of my guys who gets that volume for me in steals, yeah, that hurts a little bit. So he's leading with only a few games.
I don't want to start too many conspiracy theories on this show, but did anyone look and see the guy who smacked into him in his car? Was he a fantasy basketball player? Was he down in a league and he just had to make sure he brought it home without Kelly on the floor or something like that? He took his moment, that's for sure.
And also, can I just say, I don't think I've ever given Kelly Oubre the props he deserves for just getting around Philadelphia in the cold on his bike. The weirdest thing. This was Kelly Oubre. What was he doing? He was just running his BMX home. I did that when I was 10. And I mean, that was the thing that absolutely blew my mind.
He tried to jump a car bonnet and failed and got smacked up, but he also came back damn quick. So not only cred for saving the planet and doing monos on his bike, but apparently he's just the jelly man, because he got knocked by a fucking car and he just got back up again.
He's like Wolverine. He just might have an adamantium skeleton underneath of himself. But yeah, look, you bang on. I'm liking the Thunder there for those games. Obviously, with that Tuesday and Thursday, there's volume there. So you guys like Lou Dort, Kayson Wallace, and Isaiah Joe will probably be the big Thunder guys. And again, I guess Harrison Barnes, Andrew Wiggins has been picked up and dropped. Kuminga, Draymond Green is back. I know that you picked up Draymond Green in our league, so I'm going to have to counter that one up today and recalculate myself there. You picked him up quite early this morning, which I like about it. So I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. Your first ad of your 7 in the league that you'll probably make for the course of the week. But those are probably the major guys we want to target on. We've got some new segments, Malley, but we are going to start up with a little bit of an old one. Before we get to it, though, we're going to give you some bonus pickups and some buy nows, some sell highs, some buy lows, and all that kind of jazz. Just as we're going to give you the tip to get onto Bonus Bank, it's Australia's best side hustle. If you have ever wondered how to maximize your betting returns on those promos, if you enter $25, we'll match your betting back, or this is a free promotion, put $5 on it and we'll match your bet by 5. If you want to know what the best go is with that, check out Bonus Bank. And if you use the promo code INSIGHT, you get 25% off your first month of subscription. Make sure you check it out and get onto that one. Malley, you've got a brand new segment. I want you to kick it off. This one is called Time to Buy More. Sound fair enough?
Yeah, we thought we'd have a bit of a tweak. We talked about this in the last episode, on Tuesday of last week, Monday, NBA time. And we thought, it's not necessarily always someone's underperforming and they're ice cold and they're going to come back to form. So now's the time to buy. There's often other factors involved. Yeah. Unfortunately, my first guy really fit the bill of freezing cold, which is Derek White. And I know you're going to have a bit of a chat about him. But the other guy I wanted to talk about before we get back to Deza is Onyeka Okongwu. A few things on him. He's been playing quite well in the minutes that he's been getting. Atlanta are trash. They nearly just lost to the Spurs. They were up something ridiculous, like 30 points. Trey had 29 by halftime, and then Trey ended up getting, 4 points in the second half, and they just came rolling back. They even played Wemby right up to his minutes limit of like 24, 25 minutes to see if they could close it out. But yeah, Atlanta just don't look good. We obviously know that they're doing an everything must go sale over in the Hawks locker room, unless your name's Trey or Jalen. Everyone else is probably a fair game. But I think that Onyeka is one of the guys that's probably going to make it through the purge. I think that they'll keep him around unless there's big interest in him anywhere else. And I think they'll look to move Capella. Whether they will or whether they won't, we'll come to see in the next 3 weeks. But he's a 500-plus field goals guy. He's an 800-plus free throw guy, which is a great start for a center, especially if you're trying to protect your percentages and also get a couple of rebounds and maybe some blocks in there. He had a 5-block night last week. He's a double-double threat. And even if there's no buys in Atlanta, as I said, with the season trending towards collapse, maybe they just start to set the old body of Capella down and, he gets a few runs at starting 5. So I kind of think it's a low-risk venture because one or two things is going to happen. Either he's going to get the keys to the castle a bit, obviously not in the sense that he's the guy, but he's the guy at the 5, or they're going to continue to be
or the 4.
garbage.
They've been splitting minutes. They've been splitting minutes with Capella as well. So there's been value. Look, I had him. I needed to make a move and get aggressive in a league. So I dropped him, I think, in 2. I held him in another 2 leagues. I was like, this is the Malley theory from the beginning of the year. Like, if you hold a guy so much, you just look at your same team and you forget which one you've got Donovan Mitchell on. And last week, that was my undoing. Oh, mate, I scraped out. I dropped in the last game of yesterday. I think, Walker Kessler, because he's just not getting the minutes and the value for me there. I needed rebounds. I was down 4, had no games left. I'm like, Jesus. And I ended up picking up Jabari Walker, or Jarris Walker, sorry, over in Walker over in Portland. Jarris. And I ended up splitting my week 4-4. Now, that's not a win, but it's not a loss. And my opponent is also 1 game in front of me. So instead of them getting an extra game in front, I managed to tie it up just at the very last second. And so that's what you need to do to do this. And people are going to pick Okongwu up and drop him right now. Just so keep your eyes on him and see if the minutes tick or the Hawks just drop someone. You can leave him. I don't know if you leave him on the wire so much to speak. Like, he's not a must-add guy, but he is a must-own guy at the same time because he's been fringy top 100 value. So he probably deserves a roster spot. But in a 1-center league, you're probably cooked because that's the only spot, unfortunately, that he is still listed at in many leagues. He's just still listed as a power forward. Actually, no, I think he got eligibility as a power forward in Yahoo. I'm going to check that. Right now.
While you're checking,
I love the omelet.
He's a situational guy too. Like, he's one of those perfect guys for me to pick up in our competition together. I'm punting pretty much the big man stats. I've just discarded blocks. I've discarded rebounds. But he's a guy who doesn't damage your free throws. So on my team of guards, I can still slot him in because obviously I still need to run someone in that power forward slot. I've obviously, as you said before, picked up Dre as well, who obviously isn't a traditional power forward center. But yeah, in my situation, he's the perfect dude. I'd be buying him just because he's a fit, and I can't see things getting worse. Like, he's not. I don't think he's either way Parfit has chosen for him. I think he still stays the same or gets better. So Onyeka. Buy him up.
And this is the thing too, depending on your league and the settings, because he is in ESPN, a power forward and center, so he does have dual eligibility there. But in Yahoo, he is still listed only as a center. I might have to speak to someone about that. drop a, hey, Dan, shout out to Dan Titus. Hey, Dan, can we just make the omelette? And then he gets, and obviously Capella gets traded and he loses his power forward eligibility and a bloody heart.
Put the Titus symbol in the sky like Batman and see if you can wake him up. Yeah.
T-Money. Hey, look, let's get down to the other bloke that you mentioned we put up here, Derek White. He was an absolute on-for-Wago sensation to start the season, and he had that run there where he was putting up first-round value as of late. However, and I don't like to say that players have dropped off because he hasn't dropped off. He's still been good, but he hasn't been as good as he was. And he'll probably do this because it is Derek White. It's like the old Shakespearean thing, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Such is the life of some ownership for some players. And I experienced it once as a Derek White owner, and I promised myself never again. I was not going to sit down there and just see him be incredible and then have my heart broken. And yes, I am
ready to get hurt again.
But I am right now to get Derek White at a discounted rate from what he's been doing. Now, in the last week, he was rated outside the top 150. This was a guy who's been ranked in the top 25 on the case of the season, and he has been genuinely incredible. But the things that he was doing that made him genuinely credible, Malley, is this. So from the 19th, here we go. From the 15th of December, a block, 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, and none for the last 3 games. He's only also had 2 steals in the last 3 games. Actually, no, 2 steals in the last 5 games. 6 games. 6 games. So these things that we loved about Derek White when he was getting 4 or 5 stocks a game, they've somewhat evaporated. And his field goal percentage as well has been iffy. Now, it was a returned last one was plus 500, but he was 250, 270, 250 before that one. His free throws have still been there. He didn't hit from the line last time. Fair enough. Didn't take any. Cool. Doesn't take your free throw, but doesn't help it. The points have been not solid either. The threes were there last game with the 13 points, but I think he's going to be better than this again. So this isn't like where you can just go out and throw out a trashy offer because a smart manager will know what he can do for you. But Derek White has had an incredible fantasy season, and I'm ready to eat crow on it, Malley. I'll hang my hat. Oh my God, no, I won't hang my hat. I'm going to put it right back on my head because my hair's atrocious. But I didn't see this for Derek White to begin the season, and I don't think there was a lot of fantasy managers out there who would have seen this from Derek White with Drew Holiday coming to town, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got on there too, like he might be a great pickup too if you're running Melton to get your defensive stats. He's kind of like a Jack version of Melton. He does a bit more on defense. He does a bit more on offense. But the thing I wanted to add too, I think you pretty well summed it up, is that they had 5 games in 8 nights. Like the team looks burnt out. Besides Porzingis, because Porzingis gets to rest every other game. And he's kind of, for that, the payoff of that is then he has to go hard in the games that he plays.
It's like a fantasy baton relay race, like one of those primary school baton relay races between him and Al Forward. They just run to each other and just happy to just pass the baton. Like, you got it tomorrow night. Like, oh, man, hold my beer. That's all right. I'm just going to be on the sidelines, just kicking back in. Yeah.
They'll play about 13 games together this season. But, take that into consideration too. You're not even just looking at the Derek White picture. You're looking at the Celtics picture on the whole. They got absolutely touched up by the Bucks, and that played into one of his garbage games. Yeah. And, they've just had a hard run. And, I think they're in a position now where they've hopefully got through that to the other side. They've got another little run of tough games close together coming up before they're in the clear, but that probably just means that this window for buying is open for a little longer. So I have faith. I don't know that he gets back to being that 2025 guy, but he's not.
And that's
outside
okay.
the top 100.
But that's okay. Like he's not. Yeah, that's okay. We didn't expect Derek White to do that to start with, and when he's doing that, he was just like the man was first round value on the season. Like. We're talking like putting up numbers and stats in there, which is first round value, second round value at worst. So he's had that for the course of the year. So let's just say he tables out to being where he's going to get back towards. So you might give a decent player back in return, but do you need what he offers? And if you do, you can lean, as you said, if the right punt, really heavy into that because he does. I think he will defensively profile better than this because he's had 2 blocks in the last 6 and 2 steals. But if you look at his numbers from the beginning of the season, these are almost outlier numbers because he does usually do one or the other per game. Like if you just look down it, there's always something apart from the New Year's Eve. Probably, had a couple of wines beforehand. I know I would have if I was playing. I'm not to disparage any alcohol drinking before game, but I might have had my flu game on New Year's Eve. I don't know about you.
In your standard squeeze.
In my standard squeeze, and big shout out to our good friends. I'm just going to thank you. You just dropped them. The standard squeeze.
Yeah, have a go.
There you go. 15% off the standard squeeze. Get your 4-in-1 cup, your travelers, the original standard squeeze, which perfectly puts your nips into your bottles and your premixes, especially if you're on camp, or Derek White into your duffel bag and taking it into an NBA game. Not that we advocate for that ever way, shape, or form, but our good friends, the standard squeeze, we don't condone it, but we do support the standard squeeze and responsible drinking.
We'll turn a blind eye to it.
It will turn the blind eye, but we do want you to be responsible. Make sure you jump on and use promo code INSIDE15. Malley, we've done the time to buy guys, but this one, you think there's some guys in the NBA that are absolutely right for the selling, and this is a new segment, time to sell.
Sell.
Yeah, and I think it's the same deal as before. That sometimes it's not always because they're hot. It might just be an opportunity type situation. Look, my first guy, and I'm gonna steer the course a little bit because I was hoping before today's game that Valanciunas was going to be a time to sell guy. I think if you can sell him after today with his 4 fouls, I don't think he got into double figures offensively or defensively with his rebounds. So I think I'm just going to leave that one today. That did not.
Could you hold it? But maybe you do a hold. Maybe you do a hold on it for this one game and be like, oh, and then next game, hopefully he bounces back. And if that's the case, you can be like, oh yeah, that's just a trash. They go, oh, but he played like shit last game. Yes, he looked like shit last game. And just send a message back. Look at the last 5. Just do one of those ones where it's like if the person can look at it on paper and see one game versus the rest of them, like they can't be like the man was putting up top 60 value. Like that is definitely he was being huge. So I guess you could probably wait for that one. Who's their next opponent for the New Orleans Pelicans? I had up here a second ago. Here we go. No, it
really matters.
Yeah, it's Charlotte. So he's probably him versus Nick Richards, or if Mark Williams ever returns from, like, they ever just raise him up at night as a zombie and just roll him in there from fantasy purgatory. But he could probably absolutely dominate in that game. So hold him until after that Charlotte game. Hope he performs, Malley. And I think you're right, man. It's sell high on him.
Yeah, like he did his best work in his 28 minutes when they pretty much sat the entire starting lineup the end of the week. And that was where I started to think, look, this is time to sell this guy. He's been playing these low 20s minutes, and now he's had a 26-minute game and a 28-minute game. He was back down to the mid-20s today. So unless you have a time machine and can get back to last night and try and do some work on somebody. But things to look out for: if Zion goes down, or if Larry Nance gets an injury, which is very typical of him, especially now that he's playing bigger minutes, and he just plays hard. That dude, like he bounces around in the paint because he's a bit smaller, and then someone sits on him, and he has to go and have a few weeks off. But just know that they've obviously made their choice. They've gone back to the way they were playing him. I think that whether he goes back to being that 20 and 15 with 2 blocks kind of guy when he was sitting around that top 50 value, I don't think that's going to happen again. So just keep him in your sells folder because as soon as there's a green light, I think you've really got to go for it.
Yeah, you really do. And I think this is one of the other things you got to look at is one of our other guys when there's a green light who's had a green light. And this is what I thought was really interesting the other night. And this is an interesting stat that when I saw it earlier this week, the first player in NBA history to record a 100% triple-double in less than 25 minutes was none other than Australia's very own Josh Giddey. And with that window, when you go 13 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, 5 of 5, plus 46 in 22 minutes, Malley, you just think that's where it's at.
Yeah, look, he looks like he's in a boy band, and obviously has had his personal woes of late, which seems to, from my hunting around on the internet, have gone a bit quiet lately. I'd say things will pick back up again. The judicial system will go through its processes, but he's faded.
Apparently, they're in the processes. Yeah, no. So the last word I had that one as well is that the investigation was nearing its end. Like they were speaking to the final people about the the case. And I guess this is interesting as well when you talk about it, mate. Like how long this happens afterwards. Like we all know these things. There's the Miles Bridges ongoing. So the impact for fantasy basketball and just real world basketball can actually just kick in a little further down the track as well.
Yeah. And look, for some reason, with all this going on, it seems to have had the opposite effect on what we thought would have. And he's been playing really, really well. He had his triple-double 2 nights ago or 2 games ago, which was great. But the dude still isn't getting anywhere near cracking 30 minutes. Like he's playing those mid-20 minutes, no matter how well he's playing, even in those big games where he's, started off hot, he just doesn't stay on the court. And he did his big triple-double game in 21 minutes against Portland. So, that probably doesn't need to be advertised too much when you're making your sale. But, it's clear that he isn't going to be who he was last year. They don't want him to be that last year, and they don't want him to be that kind of player anymore. And with Chet in, his rebounds have obviously gone down because they've got someone who can clean the boards a little bit. Not that Chet's a massive rebounder, but I'd just be getting off him now. I think
that he was down this year. Like we said, you could expect him to do some stuff, but be down because what brought him so much value was his ability to rebound the basketball. He was the team leader for the Oklahoma City Thunder last year in rebounds. And now he's not. And that takes away value incredibly.
Yep. And same, they're looking towards Jalen as well. Like they seem to be moving off Giddey. I don't know how long he is for the world there. Like they keep, you continually think, they're going to get rid of Dort, but maybe they keep Dort as just that defensive guy around Shea. And they put their time and effort into Jalen.
Crazier things have happened. Because we thought that future was pretty locked up and there was chemistry developing with Chet, but obviously they've been really comfortable with Jalen and J-Dub putting in like a lot of offensive playmaking as a facilitator in that team. And Josh Giddey has only played 30 minutes or more 4 times this season. And that's probably the concern there as well. Like the projection you would probably think about wouldn't be anywhere near that. He hasn't played more than 30 minutes. I'm just looking back down on his timestamp. It was the 12th of November. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 12th of November was the last time that he's played plus of 30 minutes. And the 27 minutes versus Orlando was his highest minutes since 27th of December. So Giddey has been down minutes-wise. And again, minutes lead to opportunity. So if you want your guys to do well on a court, you'd like to see them out there doing as much as they potentially can in as many minutes as they can. It's a pretty simple algorithm. Let's not lie.
I think too, like people, I know it's obviously biased for us because we live in Australia. So obviously the chat's always going to be around Australian players.
Good Australian
and a bit of a love for the homegrown boys. But that's the thing that works in your favor for selling him as well. People just love him. Hopefully most of the people who love him are over the age of 18, but
and this is again, we condone that. 18 plus is what we do. But as you said, like you got to look at
18 plus.
You got to look at think about it like your parental advisory explicit music from back in the 90s. 18 plus. You can't walk into Insanity or HMV and pick it up if you're not 18. They won't let you unless your parents are with you.
Exactly,
and that's just
right.
be weird. That'd be weird. Now, Jalen Williams as well there's been a slight regression in him. He's still been very, very good in the past month. He's been about the 35th ranked player. And in the last week, he's slid him back down to 37th ranked player. And on the season, he's just inside the top 60, which is I had him at 55 at the end of the day. So he's had these twos and fro's and he's been incredible. And that's all stemmed from playmaking, which has dialed back just like a little bit in the last 2 weeks. He's been at 6 assists and on the season, he's been at 4. So he's got 2 more assists out of nowhere. The steals last week were down, but they've been there for the year. So again, it's that Jalen Williams last week, you said sell high, and you're kind of spot on as well, Malley, because he has regressed a little bit this week, but that's just opened the door up right there for Josh Giddey. I've got a bit of a return to our old guys, these guys who are just hot, really. And this is
pull over by this hot guy and let me out.
Vintage.
Vintage. These are the guys that I just think are out of their world insane. It's a tale of 2 point guards, Malley, that I've got for you this week. One is the best player in fantasy basketball in the last week. And my Lord, Malley, I know that you've got all the scores there today, just so I can sit back with full appreciation of what Third Eye Kai has done today. Can you please bring up that Dallas box score for me? Because it has been absolutely insane what this bloke has been putting together. I'm not going to lie. It has been...
Yeah, he's been a unit. Yeah, 42 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists on good efficiency. Yeah, he's an absolute weapon. He went to the line 15 times. He would have held the spotlight on his own, but Timothy Hardaway Jr. had a 41. Kyrie's been a beast.
Man, he has just been in the last week. And yes, it's with Luka out. It's with Luka. So when I say sell high, this is where it comes to the opportunity. And people will come back and say that as well. People will come back in and be like, oh, yeah, but Luka's injured. Yeah, he is. But at the same time, this is why you sell him high. But he's also been very, very good. There's a lot to be said for your second round pick. And if you can get a first round guy in your second round, that's just some extra gravy you're looking for in your fantasy season, especially if you're picking at, like, let's say 3 or 4, and you get a guy that drops to you like a Kyrie, who then comes in as a top 5 guy for a good run like this. This is where you get value. This is where guys become sneaky value. In the past week, he has been getting 38 points a night, 6 rebounds, almost 7 assists. He's been getting you almost 2 steals. He's been doing it 480 from the field and almost 900, 890 from the free throw line. Kyrie Irving is cooking right now. So this is a guy that we keep our eye on. And there's no better time than to sell high on someone who's the number 1 player in fantasy and who can just not sustain that. Will he be top 20 still? Yeah, absolutely. But if you can get a smoking hot player back for this guy, yeah, it's time to sell high on Kyrie because he has been incredible, Malley.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because it's statistics. So I don't, even if I disagree. Yes. But yeah, he's been elite, and yes, he's done it without Luka. But it's only him and Luka running the show each night anyway. So Hardaway, I'll go back. He's not going to put up 40-point games with He's the guys that you'd have a lot of difficulty trying to sell high on. But I think Kyrie sits in a kind of bracket of his own. He has been amazing. We know that he has an injury-riddled past. He also makes questionable personal decisions, which has been very upsetting to me, not only because of the things that he said, but the outcome of that. My favourite shoes, the Kyries, don't get produced like they were being produced. So yeah, there's holes in my cupboard that I would love to fill with some more Kyries, but yeah, that's what happens when you're a bad boy. You get all your toys taken away from you. But yeah, look. He is a hot guy, and I think now's the time to sell. They have a bit of a garbage run. It depends when your playoffs are, but he has a bit of a garbage run. I think they have a couple of 2-game weeks there as well, so you might want to get off him now while he's doing good things while he is hot.
And he'll still be good. Like, he's going to be trading or selling a good player at the end of the day. And again, provided none of that off-court stuff comes in and kicks into this one, which is really interesting because one of the whole off-court things is maybe he gets traded and Dallas moves in a different direction and gets some future picks to put beside Luka if they can't coalesce together. We haven't heard that of late. In fact, we've heard that Dallas have been possibly buyers and could be in the Pascal Siakam trade sweepstakes to add a third piece to complement Kyrie and Luka. And I think Pascal would be really good there. And this would impact guys more so like Derek Lively on the team or anyone else in the rotation they're getting, your Derek Jones Jr.'s, who's been doing really well for them this season. So that's where the impact is on those guys. And let us extent like your Jaden Hardys and your Joshy Greens and your bench mob from like Dallas, because they can move. So that's what impacts them. And one of the funny big things is before the season began, that the contract of this bloke was set up in such a way that come the trade deadline, Kyrie Irving could come to LA and DAngelo Russell could be shipped off because his contract was so trade friendly. It was almost like under the table, shaking hands, like, it's okay, we'll take care of you on this one. We can move you wherever and get something back. And Austin Reeves got his contract, and there was just this whole speculation that D'Lo was going to be shipped around. And that's why when I was thinking about guys, I was like, who would be trading for it? And just real world trade scenarios went through my head from gossip earlier in the year. And we've heard for a long time that Kyrie and LeBron were going to hook back up. They're not going to. I don't think this season, at least anyway. I think Dallas is doing really well. They're chugging along. Lakers have been just a shit show since the in-season tournament. So there's not a lot of, I guess you could say, organizational trust there right now from players coming into someone where people are injured every other game and being pre-shipped off. But DAngelo Russell has just come back from his injury, and he's been brilliant. And he's getting minutes as well. Now, he only played 16 and a half on one of those. And yet, without LeBron last time, he played 40. He's got 40, 27, and 30. He doesn't play the times, but if you're looking at his stats, 39 points, 19, 11, and 13. Assists, 8, 6, 5, and 6. He's getting some steals. He's getting some blocks. His field goal efficiency has pretty much been at 500 for the past 3 games. The free throw percentage is a little bit lucky. He hits 100 from the 3 from 3. But then he goes 500 and 500 the 2 games before that. So it's a little bit of a red flag. But this is the prime DAngelo Russell, who's been operating as a top 75 player. But you probably picked up D'Lo this season off the waiver wire. Like with those, I think it was 3 games that he missed in there. People were just dropping him and making moves, and he wasn't performing that well. He only scored 5 points before that, 16 and 8. But people were looking at him as a drop, and he was. But this is where you capitalize on that move in your squad. You could put him in a really nice package, I feel, and get something of value in return back. So for me, there's no better time than to sell high on someone like a DAngelo Russell out there, because again, these are guys who are performing well out. Because where did you pick up? Where was D'Lo going, mate? He was going in like the 90s as well in drafts, yeah.
Yeah. He was south of the 100 mark for sure.
And so this is where these kind of guys who were like anywhere from the 90s when they're returning that top 75 value, you could put them in a nice little buffer and get something back for them. I mean, you think about guys as well, like Anthony Davis, these other first-round guys like Kyrie Irving, and these guys who flirt with that. And these are always the guys you can probably just get outside the top 12 to return that. But who are the guys who are just jumping up a massive level of like returns? And so for a guy you're getting around 100, if he's performing in the top 45, top 75, top 65, that's kind of where it's time to sell them as high as you can get them if there is a return piece as well. So we're looking at guys like that across the board. And mate, I don't think there's any better case or time really to do it than right now for the bloke. Apart from maybe if you're a Colin Sexton guy, if you're looking for another point guard who's a sell high. But I think Colin Sexton, this might be sustainable for a Colin Sexton.
Yeah, and I think, you look at the other guards who have had their names touted about with potential trades, like you look at DeJounte, where he may not go to a better situation than what he's in now. You look at Zach LaVine, whether he gets traded or not. There's always speculation about that. Who knows if he goes to a better situation? But what you can say about D'Lo is that he's going to go to a better situation than where he's in now. He hates the team. They seem to not like him. They don't see.
I actually don't know. With him. It's so weird. I don't know what goes through D'Lo's head sometimes. The guy is really. I don't know if I like him or don't like him. Like last year, he put that picture of his in the playoffs. You remember where he was in LA and he was at a hotel or whatever having coffee to start the day, and they had his image like dusted over in the cappuccino hot chocolate stuff. There was a D'Lo dusting, and he was like, "Yeah, go Lakers." There was don't think about that. Don't think about that too hard when I say D'Lo dusting. Don't just let that sink in. But then the other day, he was one of the guys in the news quoting out that he was the one who they thinks he can turn it around. It's all positive. Austin Reeve praises D'Lo and honored to share the court with him. Like these are things that when we're looking at it, like I just don't know with D'Lo. Sometimes I just think he's happy to be here.
The only time I ever think about him is about that Foot Locker ad. The one where he's sitting around. I think Kat's there, someone else, and it's
Booker
like him, and he throws his phone out the window into the ocean. That's a great ad. That's all I can think about with him. When I think about any sort of PR to do with him, take it out of himself back then.
Are we sharing our favorite D'Lo moments? Is this what we are? Because one of my favorite ones is when he made the All-Star. A little reminiscing when he went to Brooklyn and he made the All-Star team, and there's this whole the transformation of D'Lo, and I can't remember it was like one of those those like pieces on the player, like a player focus piece about talk about the team, talk about your transformation. And D'Lo's like, it's really cool. He was like being the big dude. He's only been in the league like 3 years or so like this. He was like, I'm really happy to be the Nets. He's like, I'm the leader of this team. And he did it from like a pool table wearing sunglasses. And I just was like, what is going like? I just think he wants to be liked and he wants to, and he just wants to be a good player. But I do think it's sell high time on D'Lo, just because for me, like when I think about guys in the league who are doing that right now, that's just where I I see some value. And other guys, I want to give some honorable mentions out Malley for guys who I think have been absolutely like people who are rising in their stocks. Benedict Mathurin, who's owned in about 25% of leagues, he's starting to put together a really good run right now. So he's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, almost a steal, and 1.7s over his last 6 games. But he also gets better efficiencies there. And also Nikola Jovic. I know Jimmy Butler, you mentioned, was back in, here. So I'm just looking around there just to see as a streaming option what's going on with Jovic as a potential pickup. But also Jaden Ivey is my other guy who's about 40% rostered in the wake of Cade Cunningham. He has been putting together some really good numbers. So that's not going to be sustainable. He puts a couple more of these 20.4 rebound, 5.5 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 2 threes in 30 minutes over his last 2 games.
Easy to my ears.
Isn't it just, you put him on your team, people look at that, they're like, oh, Jaden Ivey, cool. So I think he is a really big sell high guy, because if he does this for another sustainable period of time, mate, Ivy's looking the goods.
Yep, exactly. Yep, I agree. Leave those guys out there.
Mate, anyone else you want to add in for the week, or are we done here? I think we're done. You got any honorable mentions?
I think your honorable mentions were fine. Just the only other chat from this morning being that Embiid was back, which is good to see. Yep. Lively was back, which is good to see. I think he got close to a double-double himself. Embiid just came back like he never left. He put 40 down. He got his just 10 rebounds, keeping his streak alive. Well, the Heat game hasn't begun yet, so who knows what Jimmy will do. In the game where he came back last time and then hurt his foot, I was particularly watching him, obviously, because he's a guy I have in my fantasy squad. So I was kind of just watching him on the court. Yeah, the dude just walked around like he just went and stood straight in the corner, which obviously is his hiding spot because no one's going to dish it out to him there for a 3. He was just super submissive. I think he nearly got like all zeros by halftime. And then in the third, he kind of came to life a bit and then stuffed his foot. So, yeah, well, I'm interested to see, obviously, from a personal standpoint in fantasy, to see what he does today with his return. I'm not thinking he'll do an Embiid 40 and 10, but yeah, we'll see. And obviously, Dre back today. They're 2 points up halftime over the Grizz, which is worrisome. As I said, I took the Mickey saying they're playing their G League.
Well, they were up. They were up to start when we first started this podcast today. They were looking really comfortable, and now it's really close. But I actually did have one guy. This guy was like, hot. Can I talk about the waiver wire pickup of the night, Miles McBride?
Yeah.
Let's give some put some respect on his name. The new Miles in town. Miles McBride today, 20 points, rebounds, and an assist. I know it's not really filling it up there, but out of nowhere, this guy gets thrown in the starting lineup in the New York Knicks. And look, they just have a very narrow loss against the Orlando Magic, but just 17 shots in the team. Almost as many as Julius Randle, which you just don't often see if the game's not Jalen Brunson. But
and poor old Brunson, go on.
Oh, no, just 4 threes in that mix there. Just good on him. And Brunson, just stay tuned. But if he's going to get some minutes, he could be some value.
Yeah, poor Brunson sitting on the bench, and they kept zooming in on him, and he was just chewing his lip. He was itching to get back out there, hey, like a horse in the stocks. He was just ready to bounce. But yeah, hopefully he'll be back with them soon. If you're a Knicks fan, that's what you want to see. But yeah, good on Miles.
And look at our good boy, our GG Jackson, our G League Jackson, as we call him. GG's actually putting together a game over for the Grizzlies. He's the one single-handedly putting them back in. He's like, hold my beer, Jaren Jackson Jr., who's now gone 2 from 10 since we've begun the podcast. Perfect from the free throw line. Look, he's got the 3 steals are really nice for him and the assist, but only 1 rebound for Triple J is pretty woeful. But the double
got 5 steals yet or not?
No, not yet. But GG Jackson, 4 from 5 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and 14 points so far. If they win this, it's going to be on the back of GG, because bloody hell, 2 from 10. I don't know. And again, this is the crazy thing. It's 8 of them have been threes. Jaren Jackson Jr. needs to get near the top against the team that is this small.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Like, you can probably...
big guys always seem to struggle against Golden State. Doesn't make sense.
Is Looney that scary? I don't
thought so.
think he's that. I don't think he's that scary. You're Triple J. You're athletic. I've seen you jump. You think you could out jump and just hurt people like Kevin Looney? You could jump over Kevin Looney. I don't even know if Kevin Looney jumps. I just think he stands there. It's really monolithic and big, and that's about it.
Yeah,
mate. That's it. We'll give it. And he gets the ball back, mate. I think we're done here. Thank you so much. Peace. Make sure you like and subscribe to all things Inside Fantasy Sports. The BBL season is wrapped up. NBL is still kicking on. NRL content's coming out. AFL content's coming out. Make sure you join our Discord server. And more importantly, next week, we're going to start reading out reviews. So make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. I think our good lad, Matty O'Brien, actually put up one in the chat before as well. We're getting reviews down there. Make sure you get onto it. Get involved. Put those reviews in. We're going to start reading them out. Malley, mwah. Much love. Have a good day. Good day back at work for you tomorrow, mate.
Cheers, mate. You too.
Take care, all.